Welcome to Don't You Two Read, a podcast where two sisters talk about all things books.
We're just two girls who found ourselves texting about books on a daily basis and thought, why not turn on a mic?
We'll be talking about our recent reads, a weekly bookish topic, and what we're looking forward to reading next.
So grab a cup of coffee and maybe even a snack and be prepared to take down your TBR and add a lot to it as we talk all things books.
I'm Hilary, a mom in Oklahoma. I don't remember my intro. I'm Hilary, a mom in Oklahoma, and I am so excited and ready for 2025 reads.
And I'm Hannah, a stay-at-home mom in Texas, and I'm currently in a cranky pants reading mood.
This is episode 27, and hi, we're so glad that you're here. Today, as you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking all about our most disappointing reads of 2024. So we're very excited. We will do a 2024 best list, but that will be coming in a couple weeks because we're just finishing out and want to make sure our list is all the way ready to go for you guys. But that is coming. So, but before that, Hannah, why are you cranky? Like because of life or because of books? Are you in a slump?
I don't know. I think it's probably life because even books that I enjoyed yesterday, today, it's just today. I feel like every book, I'm just cranky. I pick it up and I'm like, you're annoying me. Like I'm reading Throne of Glass and I'm like, the main character is driving me crazy, which that's nothing new. We know this. She drives me crazy
Yeah,
in any
yeah.
universe. But then I was reading a rom-com and yesterday, like I barely started it yesterday, and so I hadn't gotten far. But I thought it was cute so far, and then today I was like, I don't know. So I think it's just I'm in a probably bad mood today.
Yeah, sometimes those are the times I wish I would not read
Mm-hmm.
because I think there have been a few books this year that I think I would have liked more if I had just stopped reading.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I
Yeah.
read through them and then I'm like, well, I don't know if I gave it a fair
Mm.
shot because of my own life.
Yeah. Yeah. So what about you? How is your reading?
It's been good. I'm doing like with my book club, we're doing like a readathon, which it's kind of like it's funny because it's like the concept that you do with the short list because she's like list four books that she has prompts, but she's like you can use them or not, whatever. But you just kind of list four books that you want to get to in the next like 10 days. Obviously, she's like you don't have to, you can change them, but it's just like a gauge of what you want to get to. And it's
Mm-hmm.
honestly helped me. It's funny because I'm always like, oh, I'm a mood reader. And I switched a book already from my prompt, but it has helped me just have like four and they're different. Like I had one thriller, one novella, one Christmas rom-com, and a fantasy. So I had like one of each, but it helped me just to be like, no, one of the next ones, it's probably going to be one of these four or once I finish that one,
Mm-hmm.
three. So it has helped me be like, well, am I in a mood for a thriller? And so usually I'm like, well, thriller, what thriller? I don't know. And that has helped me to
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, this is this is my next thriller, whether I get to it right now or the next, a few books from now, that's my next thriller. And I don't have to spend all this time like
Mm-hmm.
just picking it, being
Yeah.
like it gets confusing.
I think that's part of what was happening too, is that like I finished my book yesterday, I really liked it, and then I was trying to pick a new book and I was just feeling that where I'm like, I don't know what I'm in the mood for. Like this. And so I just felt like chaos. And so I think that's part of it too. I'm like, there's too many choices, and I think I don't do well with that.
Yeah, it helps narrow you down to something. But anyway, it's been going pretty good. So, on the topic, let's just get into it because we have a lot to cover today and not a ton of time to do it. We want to be respectful of all that. So, let's just go back and forth of our most disappointing reads of 2024. I will say right off the bat, these are not necessarily my worst rated, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, but like I said, most disappointing, the books that most let me down for the year. However, a lot of them are lower rated. So nothing's high rated in this list. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I will also say, as always, just because we did not like a book does not mean that you're wrong if you loved it or if it's your favorite book. That might happen for a few of these.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's fine. We can like different things, and that's fine. That's all. All right. Do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so Hannah and I did spoil this one with each other because we were texting. These are in no particular order either. So my first one is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. I know some people are like, we're just starting big. This was
Mhm.
easily. So here, yeah, as we will see for a lot of these, my expectations play into this quite a bit. So this was
Mhm.
like my most anticipated book of 2024 by far. I pre-ordered this from my local indie bookstore, like, and I remember everyone was scared that they were going to sell out. It was this whole thing. I
Mhm.
remember getting it, being so excited, and reading it, and Hannah and I read it at the same time,
Mhm.
and I I was very let down by this book. I will blame myself for a lot of it. It's like I'm not going to spoil book 2, but the book 2 ended on such a crazy wild note, like a cliffhanger, and I think my mind and other fans' minds went wild. Like,
Mhm.
oh my God, what's this going to be? What's it like? All the possibilities. And then when you actually read it, it was so disappointing to me. I didn't like I hated Bryce in this book so much. She was so mean and almost unapologetically mean. Every now and then she'd be like, "Well, sorry I offended you, but that's kind of it." I
Mhm.
didn't, I really didn't like her. I feel like she took so many steps back in her character arc. I I can't say much about the other story, the surprising storyline, but I was so let down by that additional storyline. It was just like not. I know some people are like, give Sarah a break. We all just go crazy. I'm like, yeah, but she's like a professional writer. Like she has the ability and she took years to write this book, and the
Mhm.
book was like 1,000 pages or something crazy. Like you're telling me she didn't have time to think of all these like I don't know. Like I was just so let down. So, yeah, that's my first book.
Yeah, that's on my list also. So I same as what Hillary said. My reasons I was disappointed, I felt like her characters, I mean, not just one. It was for me, many of them were not likable. So that's a struggle for me.
Mhm.
The series in general is very dense and confusing, and so this one continues that. And I feel like Sarah does a lot of info dumps. Like I see it in her books in general, but I really see it a lot in Crescent City where it's just like constant info dumps that don't necessarily feel organic to me. And then, yeah, she had POV changes from one paragraph to the next.
Yes. I forgot to say that.
Like it's just jarring where I'm like, who are we following right
To the
now?
point that they're in different situations. So like there'd be
Yes.
someone strolling down the street and the next
Mm-hmm.
sentence it'd be like when he was locked in jail and
Yeah,
you're
it's
like
like,
he's in jail and you're like oh no no we're talking about
yeah,
someone
yeah,
else. They're in jail. No, the other person is actually having a good day.
yeah,
It was jarring. And I said that. I was like, she just needs a little squiggle, like a little
yeah.
dash. Yeah,
Page break.
something. And that never happened.
There's been a lot of books since then, but I have a note from when I read it that said that there were certain characters that did things that just felt out of character to me. And again, I'm not the author. I didn't write it. It's like, who am I to say what they should do? But
But
I just,
it's like we study these books. We read them a couple times. And also I will say it was not a very spicy book at all, I wouldn't say. There was one short spice scene, I think, at the end, and it was gross. Gross. Like I remember
I
being
don't
like,
even know that.
ugh, it was just like cringy. You can cut this out because he was like said something about like I'm wearing underwear that's too little for me. And you're
Ew.
like,
We're leaving that in. I don't know that because I must have skipped.
yeah. Well,
What?
that was before any and I'm
Okay,
sure I
I
skipped the
don't
rest
even know.
because I read that and I was like, ugh, that's nasty. And I'm like, why is this even necessary? I I gave up all hope after that.
Okay, but something I want to say though is that for this book specifically, different than the other books on my list, I did not rate this book badly. And I have a whole explanation. I feel like I have to explain myself. Okay, I binge read this book over the weekend, like when it came out. So I read it and I remember I was reading it texting Hillary, and then I was also reading it with like buddy reading it with a group of girls on Instagram, and we were like we had a group chat, so we were like texting about it the whole way through, which that experience was really fun. In hindsight, my rating, I feel,
Hmm.
reflected that, like, oh, I had fun. I had a good time because of the buddy chats. But then I want to say, so I finished the book late Saturday night. And then Sunday, my cat passed away. Like, literally, I had finished,
Oh,
I hadn't
yeah.
even processed. And so I feel like it's relevant because I don't feel like I even processed the book. I finished it and then went through that entire process of just like brain fog. And then after, like in hindsight, when I think about the book and everything, I'm like, that was not a very good book. And so my rating feels wrong to me because of all of those reasons. I think I was just, yeah, it was,
What did you rate it?
I rated it 4 stars. And my review,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
like my review says all the things that we talked about. Like I said all those things. For whatever, I think again, I think the star rating is probably more reflective of like the buddy chats.
Experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I was like, oh, I had fun reading. Yeah, anyway, so that's all.
I rated it 3 stars. And I think that was a generous. As the year has gone on, I'm like, I
I
don't know.
know. I get more mad as I think about it. Like as more time passes, I get more and more mad, which is ridiculous. But if you read book one and two, then obviously I feel like you'd be reading
You
book
have to
three,
read book three.
whether it's disappointing or not. So, I mean, that's all.
It's
That's
not
all.
as good, though. It is not as good. I will say that. I don't know that
No,
anybody is saying that it's just as good, if or better. No.
no. All right. What's your number two?
Book two, When the Moon Hatched by Sarah A. Parker. Y'all know I have gone extensively, I've gone on extensively about I just did not like this book. Again, another huge, thick fantasy book. I was excited about it, and I just thought it was so complicated. The characters, the girl was so annoying. And what's crazy is, like, in my book club, a lot of girls are like, let's read this for our book club. I'm like, I will not read it again. I won't. I won't. And it's taken everything in me to not be like, this book is the worst. Because, like, N I kind of wonder if the fact that it was like I had to read it for a book club influenced me. I don't know, but I didn't like it. The glossary,
Okay, not if you hated it that
yeah, it
much.
was like 35 pages. It was, I don't know, I just thought it was kind of dumb. I thought there was so much better out there. So it was just a no for me, big time.
Okay, my next one is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. This was Sarah's first open door book. That alone was disappointing to me personally. The plot itself was not my favorite. I did not enjoy Nora. She's the main female character. I did not enjoy her at all. Her personality just bothered me. And honestly, like, I never totally understood why Derek liked her. Oh, she just drove me crazy. I did remember I liked the second half, but the second half to me, it did not undo the first half for me. So I did not enjoy this one. Not even close to what I would have wanted to. I did not. Which you didn't either. You DNF'd that one.
I
But
DNF'd it, so.
yeah.
Okay, I feel like this next one's gonna make people sad, so I'm sorry. My next book is The Rom-Commers by Katherine Center. Um, did I bring this one to the show? I don't
No.
know. Okay, I will say this. I didn't hate this book by any means. I liked it okay, but I was expecting like to love this book because it had like all the vibes that are like, oh, it's Grumpy Sunshine or I don't know, Enemy Lovers. I feel like those get kind of interchanged sometimes. Um, and then the cover was so cute and the description sounded really cute. And then I liked it at first. Like writing's so good. Like Catherine Center is a really good writer. I really love it. But I was I just really struggled with there was a plot point in this book towards the end and like he was very rude, very, very rude to her. And then the reasoning for it at the end was so foolish and like it was so silly. that I could not forgive it. Anyway, he was kind of rude to her, and I know a lot of people later were like, "Well, there was a good reason for it because of this."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "No. I mean, whatever, good reason or not, I don't think you guys are ready to be in a relationship." But it all was like laughed over and all happily ever after. Like, haha, silly, oh well. And I was just like, no, I will still try her book again. However, I'm not requesting an arc for her,
Mm.
the new book this next year. I just think it wouldn't be fair. I love her writing, but I do struggle with a lot of things that happen in her book. So I just don't know. Maybe she's just not for me, just the direction she goes in her books. So yeah.
Kind of, I feel like similar to what you said. I feel similar to about that with my next book. My next one is Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I had read all of Abby's books, and that was the one that I had not read because I had heard that the lady in the book was just like terrible that and I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna like it. Based on what I heard about it, I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna like it, but I'm gonna try it. And this is on my disappointed list because I love Abby, so surely I'm gonna still like it. I just did not. I did not like the main character, Alexis. To me, she just felt spineless. Like for most of the book, she just like bent to her parents' will at every turn. And she is 38 years old, which to me, if you are, what, 18, 19, and you're in this position where you're in that awkward phase between being a kid and an adult, and you're finding your way, and you're still like having that pressure from your parents, then I can have grace and see that one way. But if you're 38, I just could not. And she was so mean to Daniel. She oh guys, I don't even know. She didn't know how to sweep. She didn't know how to do laundry. She it just I don't know. I could go on forever. I did not like this book at all. And I know most people loved it. So I'm sorry. I did not enjoy that one at all.
I did not like that book either. It's the one, and I hear so many people say, "Oh my God, you have to read Part of Your World." I don't like,
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
the
like it.
It's the favorite for so many people. But if I felt like how you said in the previous book where you're like you've gone too far. Like I feel like sometimes authors want to make real like, heart-wrenching scenarios or whatever they want to do. Real people, real mistakes, cool. But then sometimes they go too far.
Unforgivable. Yeah.
Yes, so then I'm like I don't want to root for you. I don't want you with this man who is very sweet and I don't want you for him anymore. So once you go too far, I don't know. I don't know. I can't really enjoy it much. So that's what happened there.
I think it's because that's the start of her next series, you know? Like the Friend Zone series was before, and then we go Part of Your World into Yours Truly, which is
Oh.
spectacular. Like I think that is Abby's, I don't know. But then Just for the Summer was also very strong too. Like
Mhm.
not a week like she puts out some strong like Abby's one like my favorite author, I think.
Mm.
That's the one thing that I'm like, I don't know it's just the character. The writing's still good, I think. It's just
Yeah.
that girl
Yeah.
that I hated. Okay.
Yeah.
My next one is In 5 Years by Rebecca Serle. This author is not for me. I can tell you right now. I won't read any more by this lady. I've read this one and I read Expiration Dates, which I didn't have
Oh.
high hopes for that one anymore after this. I owned this book because I was so convinced that I was going to love it because someone told me, some girl told me, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Like time travel and romance. Oh, okay. So I bought it and I was like, that sounds exactly what I love. And the first like few chapters, I loved it. I was like, I think it's gonna be 5 stars because she is a good writer. And this book is not a romance at all. Not at all. It did have a time travel element. There's no explanation for it at all, which is I can deal with that. But main girl was so gross. Here we go again. The main girl was so gross and like despicable. I could not. I was like, even see, I don't need to like my characters, but I could not understand where like she was so
Mm.
foolish. And I can't spoil it, but she was just an imbecile. I couldn't anymore. And then the main it wasn't even about the romance because they're like, "Oh, who does she end up with?" It was like a red herring. It wasn't even about that. It was about something else, a weird you definitely need to look up trigger warnings on this book. I will tell you. If you want to try it, you have to look up trigger warnings because there's a big one that you have absolutely no idea about if you just went in blind. So it's hidden deep in there. So anyway, not a fan. That one was a bad rating. I was like, no, this is a terrible book. I hate.
Okay. My next one is Worst in Show by Anne E. Collins. So, the reason why I was disappointed, I really enjoyed Anne's debut novel, which was Love at First Bite. And I liked it. I thought it was really cute, really fun, good. I thought it was good writing. I don't know. I loved it. So, this was her next contemporary romance. And so I was excited. It's about a dog show trainer. And anytime there's animals, I'm excited. So, yeah, I went in with high hopes. That was part of it. But overall, once again, we have the female main character, extremely unlikable. She treats the man like trash. But in this scenario, he was not an angel. Like, it's not like he treated her well either. I felt like both of them were just very toxic. They would fight all the time. They'd fight for things that were like, these are major problems. And then they would just bang it out over and over and over. So I'm just like, this is not solving your problems. You are not good together. I like the whole time I'm like, no, I don't want you two together. You're a disaster. And that was just their solution to everything. So I did not like this. Not only, yeah, it had the unlikable people and then it had just gross behavior that I did not enjoy. So, yeah, and I don't know, that one had a low rating. I was buddy reading that with someone else. She also felt the same way, and she did not enjoy her time either. So it was not just me, guys. I'm sorry.
Okay, my next book is Fireborne by Rosaria Mundo. This was the one that somebody said this is like Fourth Wing. It is not. It is not like Fourth Wing. It is not exciting. It wasn't that interesting. It I don't know. There really wasn't a love story in it. There were dragons. The dragons did not speak. The dragons were not really the central focus of it at all. The only things that were in the same were we are at a war college. There are some dragons in the book, and that's about it. This book was boring, and I sold it immediately as
Did
soon
you
as I finished it.
did you read the next one
No,
or no? No,
no.
just done.
Mm-mm. Yeah, I'm done.
Mm.
I was like, that's a snooze. I can't.
Okay, my next one is Jaws by Peter Benchley. I brought this to the podcast and it's episode 8. Maybe we can link it. Because I had so much to say and it was worth hearing. I mean, I
They're
love Jaws.
jollies. That's what I remember.
Ugh, yes, in the sand. Gross. I'm like, where we buy our food. I love the movie so, so much. And so there was the hype of that. But the book, I did not enjoy anything. This was one, like how at the end of every book that we talk about, we try to say, oh, if you like this and this and this, then try this, pick this book up. And this book, I was like, I don't even know who to even say who should read this book because I don't know that anybody should. And I feel like that says a lot. But Peter Benchley and his family, they are living great. I mean, Peter is not alive anymore, but I just need to be quiet. They don't care what I have to say is the point. The book was terrible. It had everything bad, bad people behaving very badly, and I did not like it at all.
Okay. My, I'm already laughing. I'm just like the awkward laughter. My next book is Destroy the Day by Bridget Kemmerer. Okay. Bridget Kemmerer, I love her. She wrote one of my all-time favorite books, which is A Curse So Dark and Lonely.
Yeah.
I absolutely like that is one of my all-time favorites, top of the line forever. So she wrote another series, and it's Defy the Night. And I gave that first book in that series 5 stars, and I loved it. I thought it was so good. I don't know if it was quite as good as A Curse So Dark, just because I love like Beauty and the Beast, but I thought Defy the Night was so good. I loved it. And then I rated the second book 4 stars. I really liked it. Uh, which is normal for me, like a middle ground, like usually a lot of times middle books are kind of like the go between the
Mm-hmm.
book 1 and 3. So book 3 came out, was much anticipated, and it was like a big letdown for me. So I thought the book was fine, but I have a note here that the book was over 500 pages, so like 550-ish, and nothing happened for the first 400. Like it just felt like nothing, boring, very boring. And then all of a sudden, a lot happened, but it was just madness at the end. The one of like the B characters ended up being the best character. One of the main couple that we see, they weren't even together in the same place like the entire book. They
Mm-hmm.
have like a couple chapters that they are in the same chapter. And that was disappointing because you're like, it's like a romantasy, and they're not even around each other at all. For the ending, the last book, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then this is what I was talking about for the last episode, guys. Like, I'm gonna really try to be more open with you guys and like my beliefs. And I would try to be as kind as I possibly can. But I just want to let you guys know in this book, so Kemmerer, she introduces one of the characters. Like he's just a character, a main character, but there's no romance for him. So it's just we have our main guy and girl, but there's one of the guys, and in this book it he does get a romance, but it is a queer romance. So I just want to let people know, while she is not an explicit writer at all, like there are no bedroom, like nothing in the bedroom is talked about or shown. I took an issue for a couple reasons. Like, one, we got the intimacy for this queer couple before anything happened with our main couple that started out book 1, which was very unsatisfying to me, that you've been rooting for this guy and girl the whole time, and then she tosses this other one in and treats it like it's the same importance in the story when it's not. This person has been a B character this whole time, but it felt like she did it to solely introduce this gay couple. And it made me feel uncomfortable because while there's nothing explicit in it, she just kept, I put on my notes that there's so many mentions of the word tussle that I can't. Like she referred to the two, like they started to tussle, and I'm like, I don't I don't know. And that couple, it wasn't explicit, but it was definitely more in detail than the details we got for the guy and the girl. So I'm just gonna put that out there so you guys know what you're getting yourself into. She has another trilogy she's working on, and there is another gay couple, and I think maybe that is going to be the direction she is heading from now on. So anyway, I wanted to mention it because yeah, like I don't feel like people mention that stuff very often, but I feel like I had to because, we're saying we're gonna be honest, we're telling you what happened in the book. So yeah, and I said why were Coric and Tessa separated for 80% of the book? That's the whole point. And they kind of got slighted, I think, in this book. So it was just a letdown, and I don't really recommend the trilogy anymore,
Mm,
which makes me sad because I loved book 1 and then I don't like where the story ended.
yeah,
So,
and you can't
yeah.
just read book one, huh?
I mean, you could, but the story doesn't really resolve,
Yeah, so
So,
no. Okay, so my next one is This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. So this author is, to me, very, very like, I hear so many good things about her. And I don't want to say she's overhyped because I've only read this one book by her. So I don't know about the other books, but speaking for this book, I felt like this book was overhyped to me personally. I saw so many reviews for this one that were like 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. So many people told me to read it, that it was amazing, that it's the favorite for the year. I don't know. I very much high praise for this book. I picked it up because it was a book club pick. So otherwise, I probably would just have not, but I did for book club. And I I did not enjoy the characters. Yet once again, I think everything comes back to this. The main characters, it just felt so physical focused, even if they were not being intimate, because this book was open door, and so I had to skip some stuff. But other than that, like even when they were just talking to each other, everything was sexualized. Like, oh, I looked at him and I got goosebumps, or like my core heated every time. Like for every
Hmm.
conversation, every single thing was like how his hands, like she would look at his hands and she would blush. And I'm like, stop. Like that's enough. I lost patience with them very quickly because it was every single time, every turn, everything was sexualized. I like tension, I like chemistry. I don't hate if the couple is physically aware of each other. But when that is the only thing, I just I don't feel anything. I don't feel any connection, any emotional bond, and I don't enjoy books that are like that. And this just felt like that to me. That's my own personal opinion. That's all. I felt like it was very physical and yeah, I was a disappointment to me.
Okay. My next one, I won't go as in detail with this one, you guys. I already have on here. This is a novel love story by Ashley Poston. I love her other books. Love, like, she's so good. She's such a good writer. And this, I don't know what happened on this book. I don't know if it was me or her. I didn't like this book at all. It was dumb. It was very dumb to me, and I hated the main guy so like such a disgrace. Disgrace of a man. So I did not like this book at all. Yeah, huge letdown.
Oh my goodness. Okay, my next one is Christmas is All Around by Martha Waters. So, Martha Waters, before this book, she has only written Regency romances, which I've read all of them and I loved them all. I thought they were really funny. I thought they were really cute, I just loved them. I loved her Regency. So she made this pivot into contemporary, and it's a Christmas book. So in my head, I'm thrilled, so excited. And I really did not like this book. I not only did it have the hype factor because again, I loved her other books. I love Christmas. So very excited. But it was just, I did not like it. The main character, she was just insufferable to me. She was so annoying at every turn, just complaining about everything, so negative about everything at all moments. She was staying with her family for Christmas, and her niece is a baby, and the baby is just acting like a baby, like crying or, not sleeping through the night or whatever. And at every turn, Charlotte, the female main character, she has something negative to say. She calls the baby demon baby, and I know it's supposed to be funny, but I was like, if you're gonna be this rude nonstop, go stay at a hotel. And that's how I was just over it. I was like, you are not enjoyable to read about, and you're annoying me, and it's Christmas, and I did not feel like this book gave me any happy Christmas vibes. So, major disappointment. I don't know. Part of me is like, well, should she stay with Regency? Or was it just all the character elements that I did not like? I don't know. I don't know. Major disappointment. Okay, what is your next one?
Okay, my next book is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Okay. This is one of them that I would say I want to say I gave it 3 stars. I'm not sure. I think. I feel very torn about this, but it was really let down for me because I loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. However, I did read it many years ago, and it was a time of my life that I guess maybe it was like the book hit at the right time for me because I thought it was very beautiful and like I don't know, it's just so insightful. I loved it. However, I've seen a lot of people say that book is boring. I didn't find it boring. I thought it was very insightful. However, my complaint on this book is I thought it was kind of boring. So maybe it just wasn't the right time for me, but it's a fantasy, a YA fantasy. So I just feel like there's no need for it to be boring. But you know what? I don't know that there was like a love story in it at all. And it's funny because Hannah and I sent it to Hannah. The Fable app said that I don't like books unless there's a little bit of romance in them. And so
Mm-hmm.
maybe it wasn't bad. It was just kind of boring to me. And it did have like you could continue on to book two. I just didn't feel like, you know, that feeling whenever you finish book one, for example, the Inheritance Games. I ordered the second book of that one, like from Amazon, before I
Mm-hmm.
finished the first book because I knew I was almost done. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to know what's next. And I just didn't feel like that with this. I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't feel like I need to know what's next. It was just kind of meh, which is sad to me because I liked Addie LaRue, but I don't know. I just was let down by this one.
Okay, my next one is Attached at the Hip by Christine Riccio. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, and I'm sorry. Okay, the plot is supposedly like Survivor. Like the book actually talks about Survivor.
Oh, is this the YA one? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I told you about this. My bad.
It says it's YA romance Survivor. It's a Survivor spinoff show. The whole concept is that they are handcuffed to a partner, and it's like Survivor meets Bachelor type of thing. I just don't know. This had so many things, like so
Wasn't it
many.
like super woke?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the thing. I have it in my note. We have to just talk talk about it. The book to me was just not great. I don't feel like I say that often. I say this was not for me. I don't feel like this book was done super well on multiple levels, which takes a lot for me to get to that point. There were a lot of plot points. It didn't seem like a focused direction for anything. It was just like a bomb of like blah, of just everything ever that just was just bizarre. There was a lot of elements that were just annoying. Or, yes, I did tell Hillary that it felt like this book was trying to be woke, for lack of better word, throwing in every single thing that we could just so we could hit that status. You know, like on Mean Girls, where like I'm the cool mom. I felt like it was that vibe with this book. Like it was like, oh, I know the things of 2024. Like I'm relevant and I don't know, like every single sexuality was in this book. Seemed like, which is whatever. I don't want to harp on it. I just think sometimes it can come across as it being forced into the story when it's like, okay, every character is having some sort of like identity crisis or like gender crisis or whatever, what have you. To me, it just seemed like forced. It didn't feel natural or organic or purposeful. It just felt like it was just everywhere. Also, because the book was YA, like it had a lot of language. And as we know, YA clearly means nothing because this book had a lot of language and it had a lot of content that I would not hand to a teenager personally. That's just me personally. I would not. And I think, let me see. Oh. And then there's a relationship in here. Like one of the side characters, she says that, like, she's still in high school and she's like, I've been in love with my high school coach for years. And that it's fine because the coach is 21, which I guess she's trying to say is young. And she's like, well, I think that the coach, reciprocates, but that she's just not doing anything about it until I graduate. And it's just gross. To me, it's gross. And it's not presented as gross. In the plot of the story, the main character, she's talking to the girl, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry you can't be together yet. Like, that's so cute. You guys like each other. And she was excited. She's like, oh, does she like you too, though? And that's when she's like, yeah, I think she does, but she just can't do anything about it because I'm still in school. Gross. It feels gross to me. I don't like it. Like, as you can tell, it made me mad. Again, YA. I don't think we should encourage students to be with teachers. I don't like it. This book for me, it was a disaster. That's all.
I told her to DNF it, but she was like,
I
no.
had I had gotten so far and then it got to the point like once I hit a certain percentage, I this is sound ridiculous. I felt like it was my due diligence at that point that I'm like I want to write a full review on this because I feel like so strongly about the book, not in a good way, but I felt so strongly about it that I was like, I would want to know because again, YA, it looked really cute, Survivor, like it looked like it would be a cute little read, romance, and I just felt like I would want to know. So, there you go. You're welcome. I did it for the people.
Yeah. Okay. My next book is Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. What's funny is I read this book. No, I read Jen DeLuca's one of her earlier books, Well Met, which is about a couple and they fall in love, but it's set in this like Renaissance fair or medieval fair type thing, and it's so cheesy and kind of different. But it's one of those books that I like. I don't know if you have those books that it like always comes back to you. You're like you always think about it. I don't know, like it just has stuck in my brain. It wasn't a perfect book by any means, but I always think about that book a lot. It's weird how it just takes up this, rent-free space.
Hmm.
But so she had this ghosty book that came out and I was really excited. Like it was in the fall and it was going to be like kind of spooky but romance, like cozy mystery. I don't know. I did not like this book at all. It was foolishness. It was like yeah, look, I'm looking, the rating has dropped on Goodreads to 3.69. I'm sure it'll continue. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say it's foolishness. I know a lot of people that I know that did like this book. I did not like the characters. Again, as we can see, this is consistent. Like the characters were dumb, just like foolish again. And but I will say I don't like ghosts possessing people and that had this element in there. I don't mind a little Casper story in a book, but whenever like a ghost takes like possession of somebody, I don't get scared. I'll be honest. I don't get scared, but I just think it's so dumb. Like it's just and then I think often with a ghost, they people use a ghost to explain away bad writing sometimes.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's like the supernatural explains all these things that don't make sense, but you can just be like, it was a ghost, it's supernatural, it's, all this stuff that's there's no other reason other than that.
Mm.
Which I will say, like Sarah J. Maas does that sometimes too, that you're like, how in
Mm.
the world was this possible? And she's like, it's magic. There's no other. And so I found that in this book a lot. So anyway, it looks like a cute little cozy mystery, and then it's funny because then all of a sudden it gets steamy at the end, and it's just I don't know.
And the
It didn't,
possession.
yeah, and the possession. What was funny is this is Boneyard Key series number one, kind
Mm.
of insinuating more is coming. I won't be continuing on with this series, but the cover's really cute. Super
Yeah,
cute
the
cover.
cover is really cute. And then I saw a lot of reviews that were like, okay, but the possession or like comments, they're like, but the possession scene. And I'm like, oh, 100%, I'm not. I'm out. That's all you need to say. I'm like, one word and I'll be out. Possession. No, thank
Here it
you.
is. Yes, there's another book coming. It's called Ghost Business. It comes out in September. Unless I see like if I see like a lot of trusted people give it five stars, amazing, maybe, but I don't think that's gonna happen, I'll be honest.
Okay. My last one is like a loophole. I this is the one that if I feel bad for anything, it's this one. I'm sorry. Okay. The Falling for Summer series. I talked about that on the podcast. I was so excited. This is the author collaboration.
Yeah, you talked about it a lot.
What was it? Seven books, seven authors, one every week in the summer. I was so excited. I bought the first like three or four of these and mistake. The first one I loved. That was a strong one. Summer Ever After by Courtney Kiesel. I loved it. I felt like it was a strong start. I stand by that. I know it was not for everybody. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Then it went quickly downhill for me. Two, it was okay. It was to me boring. I did not love it. I did not really like the characters. I struggled. I finished it, but I struggled. So that was book two. Three, I DNF'd it. Did not, I could not. Book four, DNF'd also. So at that point, I was like, you know what, Hannah? Maybe you should not. And so I learned. See, I'm like, at least I stopped. It took me three books, like to get to book the two, three, and the four, but eventually I was like, no, we're done. I was so disappointed enough that I did not go back. I know we had talked about it. We're like, will I go back and read the rest eventually? And I'm like, yeah, eventually, maybe. I have not convinced myself that I even want to go back there to the island because I don't know. I did not enjoy the others. I was disappointed and I was sad because I love any opportunity, obviously, that I can support indie authors, that I can fall in love with a series. I was all about it. Started off good, went downhill real fast for me. So, unfortunately, I would say that was a big disappointment just throughout the whole summer. The whole summer, week after week until I wised up. Is that even a word? No.
I don't know.
Okay, that's all. What about you? What's your last? Do you have any more?
Yeah, one more.
Okay.
Okay, my last book. Okay, this is the one I feel the worst about, guys, like Hannah
Yeah,
said.
yeah, we saved it for the last.
I'm not saying this was the worst book I read last year. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it was, excuse me, I'm like, here I go, choked up. Excuse me. If you guys remember the last time that happened, Hannah came down with like the plague for 3 weeks. Oh my goodness. Okay, like the nerves, the stress. Okay, the last book I want to talk about is Illusions of Stars by Sarah Marie Page. Okay, so the story is, the reason is, I saw this book on Instagram. It was suggested to me. I don't know how. Nobody like suggested it to me. It just came up, like, I guess on my feed. I'm not sure. But it was like all the cover's really cool. And then listed like enemies to lovers. It said like stabby heroine, something like that. And it said Dramini coded, something like that.
Yeah,
And so I had just finished Manacled, I believe. And I mean, I've talked about that book. I loved it. And so the work of art. I'm like, here I go into 2025, the work of art. Can't call it a book. But yeah, so I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm excited. And it was on Kindle Unlimited. And plus the author, she seems to be like very incredibly kind, like this genuinely nice person. And so I had tagged her in not a post, but like on my Instagram story. And I was like, oh, I'm starting this book. And she's so nice. Like, oh, I'm so excited. I hope you love it. Very kind. However, I did not like the book. I didn't like it. And it made me really sad. Um, I wish I had like positive things to share about it. It wasn't it for me. I felt like it was a cool concept, maybe, but it felt to me like okay, it felt to me like it needed to be edited. It felt like a first draft to me. When I read it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt kind of bad. Like she needed an editor, but I don't know how like the indie process works. I don't know like how expensive that is or what, I don't know. But then at the end, like in her notes, she did have an editor. She
When you
did.
say that though, when you say editor, do you mean like grammar typos or do you mean like developmental, like beta?
Both. I think
Okay.
both.
I'm like, oh,
Like,
double hit.
yeah, like grammar stuff, which I get it. Like everything, like we said, like Twilight, one of the Twilight books had a grammar. Like stuff happens. I get that. That's
hmm
fine. But it was stuff like that, like both. Just
hmm
a lot of problems throughout the book. And I don't know, like it just wasn't it. I don't know. And she said she had a lot of I don't know if they're betas or what, but she did have an editor. She did have beta readers, I think. She did have ARC readers, so she had it all. I will say the overall score on Goodreads is high. It's really high. It's like 4.1 something.
Wow.
So I'm clearly in the minority on this one. However, I do, there's one scene in the book. It's closed door also. I forgot to say that, closed door. But there's one scene in the book that I distinctly remember, and it horrified me so much. And I could not I don't know. I don't know what to say. I can't even I can't even say what it was, but it was just it's a closed door book, but there's a scene where the couple is like riding horseback together, and it made me so uncomfortable because I don't know. Do you remember was it like they
Yes, I know.
graphically
I know exactly because I'm like,
I looked to see if I highlighted it and
do
I
you want me to say it?
didn't. You tell
I'll
me and then
say it.
I mean, if you don't want
Okay.
to say it for yourself, I
I
can
mean,
you,
I can say it. I don't care. Okay.
okay.
So they're on the horseback, and I don't remember all the details. Okay. I know that he had a tattoo of a snake. At some
On
point,
his arm, on his arm.
somewhere. Okay. I was like, somewhere.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
think somewhere neutral.
We know that he has a tattoo of a snake. And then she's like wiggling around on the horse, and she's like, oh, like, guys, she's feeling things. Okay. And then she's like, two snakes. I don't know
She
what.
says it. She says it. She doesn't think. She says
Two
it.
snakes, a snake for a snake or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I texted my friend because she has read it also. And I was like, like I've discovered I don't like body parts, like euphemisms for body parts.
It was also it was meant to be awkward. Like it was
But
written
okay, but
like,
that's the thing. Everybody comments about it and they're like, that's so funny, so funny.
oh, my bad.
No, but I didn't think it was funny. Ew, gross and just weird. And I did not like think, I don't know. I also felt I did not enjoy this book either. I'm sorry. But I will say a ton of people love it. Me just adding in a comment. There was one point far into the story where I texted Hillary and I'm like, she said she's never seen a tree. And I think it was like
That's right.
seventy
She's
percent
like,
or
"Oh my
something.
God, I just saw a tree for
A
the first time in my
tree.
life."
And I was like, where have you been? Because this
I know, I'm like, I've been imagining trees.
I've been imagining a forest. So then picture my brain. I see like this whole forest with like the horses and all this going through. And then I hit that part where I'm like, she's never seen a tree. And so then it's just like a white piece of paper in my brain. I'm like, I don't know what to picture at all anymore. Everything is a lie. Just because I just had no, I was like, where have we been this whole book? I don't even know. Confusion. So yeah, I'm gonna stop now. I had a hard time with that one too.
It makes me sad because the lady seems like she's actually very nice and um but we're not reviewing the author. This is just the book. It was my opinion. Like I said, most people say they like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And this is going to be there's another book coming out in this duology, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um I don't think I will read it. It makes me sad, but not everything's gonna hit. It was awkward to me. It was a letdown. And I'll be honest, the Dramini reference, at the end of it, I was like, so
No, it was
how
not at all.
like
It was not,
where who was like Draco and who was like Hermione? I don't know.
no,
Like not in looks, I don't think, not in personality.
no,
Maybe because Hannah said the snake,
no.
like
Yeah,
Slytherin,
that is,
maybe.
no. No.
It was, I don't know. It was, oh my God.
But
So
I
that
will say
was
this too.
interesting.
Like Hillary said, for me, I felt like it had good bones. I really did. I felt like it had potential. I felt like it was a book that if I beta read it, I would be like, okay, we need more about this, or like this doesn't make sense. This, like I feel like that's the perfect example for me is that I feel like it had a good outline and a good potential, and I just I struggled also.
So anyway, thank you guys for listening to our most disappointing reads. I hope we didn't hurt anybody's feelings. It's all in good fun. It does not matter. Obviously, we know that some of you love these books, and that's okay. Like, that doesn't bother us either. We will, just to give you a heads up, we are going to be doing our Breaking Dawn series coming up, and then after that, it'll be our best books of the year. So the positivity is coming. This, we just started on a low note.
Yeah, and as always, like, share, comment. You can comment on this episode down in the comment section. Tell us what your most disappointing reads are for the year. We all have them. You can say, "Oh, I love them all." We all have them. So, what is your most disappointing reads from the year and why? Let us know. And that's all.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
If you've made it this far and didn't add this episode to your DNF pile, thanks a bunch.
That brings us to the end of this week's episode for the Don't You Two Read podcast. We hope you enjoyed hearing about our recently read books and hopefully getting to know us better as we begin this podcast journey with you guys.
We will be including timestamps in the description on every episode so you can check there for books or products that we mentioned in today's episode.
Be sure to tune in to our next episode when we will be chatting about all things books. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Don't You Two Read Podcast, and you can find me at Hannah Reads.
And I'm at Hilary Reads. If you enjoyed today's episode, would you take a moment to follow us? You can also rate and review us wherever you listen. And as always, please share this with all of your bookish friends.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Until next time, we hope you have a magical week filled with 5-star reads.